Good evening. Tonight's installment of your friendly neighborhood comic book dude is brought to you by your friendly neighborhood comic book dude. What's going on, guys? Trying out a new format for the video tonight, using webcam instead of a phone. Maybe we'll be like a million times better. Maybe not. I guess we'll find out, right? Let's see. I hope everybody's doing well in this lovely pandemic, wherever you are. Myself, New York, we are, what everybody in the news is like, oh my god, they're scary. Upstate New York, I think the whole rest of the state has like a 7% hospitalization rate compared to the 64% hospitalization rate of New York City. just for those of you that are like, oh my god, something's coming from New York. But again, yes, I hope you're all safe. I hope you're enjoying these videos, or at least the things in them. One little update. So I was doing 2 videos a week. We were kind of jumping back and forth between collectibles and comics. The comics was a little bit of beta testing. While my area of expertise is comics, I think for now we're going to just stick to the collectible videos, simply because the ability for me to hold on to any given comic I've come across in this collection that I've been showcasing is becoming harder and harder, which is a good thing. They are selling, but some people are, they don't want to wait for me to showcase the items in a video. They want their old vintage comics now. So, in the interest of making the ultimate new homes of those comics happy, I think for now we'll just stick to collectibles. When or if I come across a really hot comic that I think, is worth showing you guys, I might pop it in here real quick. But yeah, so I just figured I'd let you guys know that. It was kind of like touch and go a little bit. And again, it's totally a good thing, because they're going. People are enjoying them, loving them, purchasing them, adding these vintage, high-quality books to their collections. So it would probably behoove me to continue with my local contacts and things, or contacts I've made online that are interested in comics for the time being. I do apologize if anybody was like really enjoying those. I don't know one way or the other. Feel free to give me the feedback, because that always helps, because I can always push back and be like, yo, people are upset. That's okay though. Enough of my blathering. After last week's record number of items, I thought I couldn't top myself. I think today we'll top that. I don't know if we'll be able to do that every week. I'd like to hit a tipping point at some point where I'm like, okay, I have taken enough items. Also, I was having a bit of car trouble between last week and this week, and I now have a new car. And my new car is much bigger than my old car, which also means I can haul more. I don't know if that's good or bad in terms of being able to bring some collectibles home. But so the first thing, or things, I should say, that we've got today, I kind of feel like these should go as a pair. I priced them separately, but they, I don't know. It just feels like it would be wrong to separate them. But somebody's gonna come along and be like, I only need this one, and I don't need that one, because that always happens. But lovely figures from the Tim Burton Corpse Bride films. We've got Victor himself, and we've got the Corpse Bride, whose name eludes me at the moment. I know she's got a name. It's hidden somewhere. But yes. So we've got them. They were both McFarlane. I don't know. They're figures technically, but the way they're packaged, they feel like Barbies to me. I don't know. I guess they're not in that vein. They're just, maybe they were meant to look that way, but they are a McFarlane toy. They came out about 15 years ago. Price-wise, they're about the same, to be honest, though. One of them like averaged at about like 75. The other one's about 70. I don't know. Probably see the pair of these for like 100, 125, something like that. But they're a cute pair. Alrighty. What else do we got? What other goodies do we have? The next thing, which is sort of in the same vein, probably should get those out of the way first. It feels like we're starting to get more and more in the, I'm going to call them pseudo Barbie realm. We had the Tonner last week. We had the like Mattel Jessica Rabbit the week before, and there are more of those. I have seen them. I'm just trying to. I always try to give you guys variety. I don't ever want to just be like, here's the only thing, and then like have people be like, yeah, I don't care for those, and tune out. So, but then we've got ourselves a Maleficent figure, from Jack's Pacific, who, I mean, at this point, we've kind of like, you guys know by now. I mean, even without me having to say that, there's tons of companies in the licensed market, and this is another one. It's not that they're not special, but at a certain point, they, a bunch of them exist and they carve out their own niches. I don't want to say that this is a Jack's Pacific niche because I've seen giant Godzilla figures by them that aren't anywhere in the vein of this, but I think they like big name properties, and I mean she looks pretty spot on. She could pass for Angelina Jolie. She came out in 2014, and her range was between 50 and 150, so probably 100 or maybe just a little less than 100. So yeah, so there's that. What else? The next thing I feel like is kind of cool for action figure people. Although full disclosure, her name tag is holding on by a thread. So we've got Spider-Woman here, or Jessica Drew from Marvel Legends, which and that even looks like that's a Build-A-Figure. That's pretty cool. Because I wasn't sure how far back they did those, but I mean, yeah, Marvel Legends is probably like the most well known at this point action figure set for Marvel figures, like action figures. And a lot of them do this where there's you collect all the figures and you make somebody. So for this one, it's MODOK, a little floating guy. For this one, you actually get his head, which is probably like the big piece, that in the base, I would think. But the other cool thing, which I'm noticing in this, that they don't do as much anymore. I don't even know. This might be worth more than the figure itself. Is a reprint of Spider-Woman #1, which was not Jessica Drew's first appearance, but it was her first issue of her own title. So I mean, that actually was in the collection that went not too long ago, and we had like an 8.0 copy, and that was like still $50. So, but this unfortunately is not going for $50. This is probably going to go for just about $25. Truthfully, because the listings that I found were right around there. I don't think I found any sold listings for this one, to be honest, at the time of recording. But so yeah, I mean, who knows? The comic alone might be worth grabbing this for, and if not, maybe you're missing a MODOK head, and this is the piece that's gonna get it for you, or you were missing the head, but you also wanted the figure, because I'm sure there's people out there on eBay selling just the pieces. I know for a fact there are people out there on eBay selling just Build-A-Figure pieces. But so yeah, that's $25 from that. And for the record, the maker of that, I would need a Marvel Legends figure in front of me to say this 100%, but I don't think Marvel Legends is made by Toy Biz anymore. But at the time they were, because that's a Toy Biz figure. But yeah. All right, next, what do we got? Some classic NECA figure action. So we got ourselves a Jason. It won't be the first Jason you'll see. Actually, it isn't, and it won't be the last. This is a NECA. It's from Friday the 13th, Part 3. Interesting to note, though, is this little sticker up here, battle damaged. This is, I don't know how far back NECA did variants, but this is probably one of their earlier variants, because in the same box that I pulled this from, I did not take that this week for this week's batch, was the exact same figure, but not battle damaged. So that just shows that there was variants back then. Be that as it may, though, he's not a particularly expensive figure. The price we've decided on for him is going to end up being $35. Again, I don't know if that's a lot or a little for something like this. I think this was another one where, like, the time of listing, there was just not, like, really any sold listings for it. I like, in those cases, I tend to look around at what the offered prices are and kind of guesstimate a value accordingly. But yeah, still pretty cool though. If I had to, I mean, it doesn't actually denote for you what the specific battle damage is. If you look close, there's like a gash on his head, and there's some red stuff there. Probably blood, maybe ketchup. I couldn't say for sure. But yeah, so that's probably his battle damage. He's got some blood on his own machete too. He might have just like put it up there while he was walking around or something, and then decided, "Ow, I'm gonna take that out." Next page. Oh, this piece. This is a cool piece. So somebody reached out to me on eBay this past week on something I was selling from this collection, and I guess I'm just gonna make this disclaimer. I'm sure I'll have to say it again. I inspect all the items that I get, and sometimes it looks like they are brand new, just by way of looking at them. You see the figure in the box still with all his pieces, looking like he was never touched. All his accessories. Man's got like 4 different hands and a giant bone you could beat up people with, and his lightsaber. But the seal looks like it was lifted. Unfortunately, because this is consignment, I don't want to be the one to try and open it, because then at that point, I can say for certainty, yes, this item has been opened. Not to be disingenuous, but as a collector myself of things, I would prefer to have the honor of opening something myself. So, when it's reasonably sure the item looks new, I'm claiming that it's new. If it's not, feel free to reach out to me and let me know. I'm not trying to deceive anybody. I also am just not trying to take something that could be new, could not be new, and then for sure make it not new because I opened it. So, that being said, this piece is a pretty cool piece. It's Luke from Sideshow Collectibles. I think we're getting closer and closer to some Sideshow statues. I would love it. Still not quite there. This is kind of in the vein of some of those Sideshow monster figures I showed you, but I think higher end. Just tell from the box, man. Like, look at him. They gave him so many accessories. They had to give him his own accessory box. And this is from a line called Order of the Jedi. I think this was just a signifier for a bunch of figures they released, because all the images and stuff on the box are still movie scenes. I think that was just like Sideshow's way of like labeling the line, kind of like NECA Real Toys or NECA Cult Classics, you know what I mean? But the figure's still from whatever it's from. This guy came out in 2006, and price-wise, his range was between $65 and $125. So probably in the 100 range, probably like right at 100. So, what else? Ooh, this piece I thought was super interesting. That's just me though. So my mother, growing up, showed me a lot of movies, as evidenced by my love for them, and now my insane cataloging of them on things like my Letterboxd, which is always in the links for all these in case you ever want somebody else to give you their point of view on a film before you commit the time to watch it. But a lot of the things she showed me are definitely not mainstream. I think as a child, she had the choice for my first film to show me either Night of the Living Dead or Hook, and she chose Night of the Living Dead. But, they ran the gamut of classic films. And the reason I bring that up is I found this piece in a box, and it just spoke to me because it was from a film that she showed me as a kid. But it didn't speak to me enough to buy it, because I didn't want to take that away from you guys. But it is from the Golden Voyage of Sinbad. It's a Kali figure. You know, it's a 12-inch tall, fully painted vinyl, very accurate in detail, and it's what's called so the film itself, the Golden Voyage of Sinbad, was a Harryhausen film, so they're calling it from the Harryhausen collection of films. I guess there were other ones too, like that you could have gotten, which I guess I won't be shocked if we come across later. That'll be like Talos from Jason and the Argonauts, or what else? We get the dragon from the Seventh Voyage of Sinbad, the Cyclops. So lots of really cool pieces. I think that this one was pretty awesome. I feel like the how dark it is though is making it hard for you to see, so I'm like tilting it back a little. But yeah. So Kali, and the like overall company that this is from is actually X Plus, who do still, they're still around. X Plus reminds me a lot of Kotobukiya. I feel like they do a lot of international stuff, but not exclusively. I also feel like I've seen a lot of like X Plus stuff when it comes to like kaiju, like monsters, Godzilla, things like that, Ultraman, those kind of things. Again, obviously not exclusively, but from my personal experience, that's where X Plus comes to mind. So this came out in 2002. Wow, this is old. Come up with a price for this one yet, but the range on this one was between 80 and 160. So somewhere in the average there, maybe on the lower end, maybe like 100. Again, like a nice round number. But yeah. This next piece, ooh. So I think, and feel free again to set me straight in the comments if I'm wrong on this. I don't actually think this next piece is from any sort of licensed product. I think that this company had their own. I'm sure they did licensed products, but I want to say that they also did like lines of their own things that were based on nothing essentially. And so the name of this company was Yamato USA, which I feel like in its name alone sort of is a little not deceptive, but a lot of the stuff was like Asian inspired is the best word I can use. So figure in question is the Golden Lover by Julie Bell. So again, when I can, I will disclose this to you. This girl looks like she is brand new. I will say, however, that the seal is broken on this one. Odds are it was pulled out of the box to see what it looked like displayed. I can assure you that I got it fully boxed, and the new owner of these items doesn't display anything. So I think I could say with a fair amount of certainty, based on the person that I worked with, likely looked at this item once, saw that it was intact, and put it back in the box immediately. I can't say for certain, but I also can't say for certain that it was ever taken out. The seal might have just been broken. So that being said, the prices on this were decently high, and I think because of the uncertainty of whether it's new or used, I think we're going to price it at $125. But if you go looking up Golden Lovers sold on eBay, you'll see that they are higher than that. So it's priced on what we feel is fair considering. But yeah, so I mean this is from a line though from Yamato called Fantasy Figure Gallery. Fantasies Made Reality is literally the quotation for the caption of the line. Again, like I'm not familiar with the Golden Lover from anything, but I'm also not, omniscient, and it could be from something I'm just not familiar with. Either way, it looks like a very beautiful artistic piece. or it's a beautiful smut piece, depending on the context of how one would want to own this piece. Next. Oh, man. These... So we had... I want to say, like... I think it was last week. Last week we had Zatanna. Was a 1/6 scale DC Direct figure. And I showed you at the bottom, there was a huge list of these DC Direct figures. So don't be shocked if you start to see more of them, like, right about... Whoa, so fast. What? Oh, it's the Flash. The Golden Age Flash, to be exact. Beautiful Jay Garrick in there with all his glory, all his pieces and whatnot. And they got these awesome stands too, man. I can only imagine like somebody displaying every single figure that was in this line from DC. It would probably be awesome. And I mean, I'm not sure what these went for when they came out. We're gonna ask $65 for it. Feels like low end for something like this, like a 1/6 scale figure, but I could be wrong. Maybe that's right about what they were priced at. Considering what I see these types of things for now, though, I would be shocked, especially because this isn't that old. Next. Oh, next would have been our Living Dead dolls, but as always, we've got that lovely Patreon where you can see everything that are in these videos 24 hours early, and I have somebody that's keyed into those, so at this point they're just like, Living Dead dolls, I want them. And, you know, if you're consistently getting them weekly, that's a good sign that you'll probably keep getting them weekly. And if that's something that you'd be interested in, there's a link to the Patreon in the description. It's $1 a month to get 24-hour early access to these 4 weeks of videos every month. So 25 cents gets you 24-hour early access, and in turn you can be like, hey, I want that item before you record your video. And then I'm sitting here telling you about the Patreon rather than showing you the thing. There were 3 Living Dead dolls. Like most weeks, we had Mishka, Eleanor, and Goria. And their total came up to about 110. So some of them were worth more than others. I think one week we had Captain Spaulding was like $150, $200, something like that for just him. Some of the licensed ones goes for a lot more. What's next? Ooh, nifty. For those of you that have always wondered what it's like to have a head full of pins, but decided you didn't really want to do it yourself, but wanted like an effigy to stare at, here comes Hellraiser, or Pinhead from Hellraiser. It's a 12-inch figure. It's from Hellraiser 3. It also looks like his chest is like cut open, kind of like Operation style. I mean, it's not, but there's red spots there, so I mean, he's bleeding, and he doesn't want you to stitch him up. This is from our friends at Mezco. This is why it came right after the Living Dead dolls, because those are Mezco's too. Wow, look at that back image. That's actually pretty cool. That looks like something they would have pulled from like one of the movies. Yeah, definitely is. This guy came out in 2016. He's not super old. I don't know if he's hard to come by or not. Price would maybe say no. Ranged from somewhere between 50 and 80. Might throw an even 60 on there. That seems like a fair price for a pinhead that's, tall enough to glare at you, but not tall enough to, put pins in you. I could be wrong though. Anybody ever see Tales from the Hood? You remember the one guy who got or not the one guy, the one little doll that was running around towards the end, yay big. That was probably smaller than 12 inches. You got that guy good. This next one, I'm gonna be honest. I am not to speak ill of its value. I'm sort of shocked at the what this is going for. And there are more of these in the collection, but I found something from a company called what is it? Dencom, and essentially it looks like scenes that you could buy and build to go with your models or figures or whatever, and the scenes that they have are like generic in the sense that you could find them in lots of things. For example, the one I've got today is the dungeon, and you can like set it up and then set up your figures around it, almost kind of like a play set. And at first I thought it was a full-blown model, but it's what they're calling it is a custom builder kit where you snap the pieces together. So again, it's a bunch of pieces that you could kind of fashion your own dungeon, and it's likely designed for like scene making. I would think because of the fact that this isn't like a licensed thing that it wouldn't be very much, but I mean, sold listing wise, the average price was $75. I feel like we're gonna ask less on this. I don't know. I can't fathom selling a snap together model for $75. Somebody might be watching this and going like, you have no idea how hard that is to find. I guess then you're gonna get a deal on this. Maybe half of that average, maybe a little more than half, something like a round number. But yeah, not and again, not to crap on this thing. It looks really cool. It's just, in my experience, the dollar amount of items goes up exponentially when it's a licensed thing. So when you go and make it generic, usually lower price. I guess that's not always the case. Maybe they're very well put together and great for scene making, in turn increasing the value. Maybe they're very like sturdy. I tried to do a little bit of research and I really didn't find much, which is why I'm speculating with you. But yeah. So let's see. Next, we've got something a little sci-fi but also seductive. So Diamond Select Toys, which we've had a couple of pieces from, branched out into their own lines of things too. Again, kind of like in the vein of the NECA cult classics or stuff. They made a line of figures called Femme Fatales. As you can guess, it's all women figures, and they're usually prominent females from whatever property they're from. I've got a couple of Femme Fatales. I've got like a Poison Ivy or a Batgirl or a Harley Quinn. And they're all licensed because how else would you know that they're a Femme Fatale, right? This character I'm not super familiar with because I was never a big Star Trek person. Please don't kill me. I have a thing about space. Any of my friends will tell you I just I make exceptions for certain things, but space just doesn't do it for me. But 7 of 9 might do it for somebody else. She's from Star Trek Voyager. I would call her a 12-incher. Ooh, and I'm just now noticing this. I didn't notice this before. Her seal is broken also. May have to factor that into the price. I can tell you, although as it is, she's going for relatively low. The range on her was between 25 and 40, so you might split the difference and call it 25. That's not really splitting the difference. But yeah, she's a cool piece. She came out in 2013, not super old. Again, like I said, I have some Femme Fatales myself. I feel like they started around 2010, but I could be wrong. We still got like 12 things to go through, and we're already a half hour deep. Are you still here? Is this the halfway point? Really? Halfway? Hopefully not. Hopefully more than halfway. Next, We've got, I feel like this is going to be another thing that you're going to see like at least one every week for a while, because there's so many of these. It was like how Batman was in the 90s at a certain point, even though like they'd released movie figures, TV show figures, whatever. They'd just like DC had generic lines where they made like random Batman, flying Batman, aquatic Batman, whatever. Well, apparently Predator followed suit. We have Water Emergence Predator. She's got a pretty cool looking helmet. This is a NECA. It's a 25th anniversary figure. It was released in 2013. Even though it's got like that super retro look to it, it's not super old. So, Water Emergence Predator. Averaging between 27 and 60. You can quote me on this, but don't quote me on this. I think we're going to probably go with like 40 on him, which a lot of the Predators I've been listing have been somewhere between like high 30s, low 40s. So, that feels like a not terrible in between number. So there's that. Ooh, this piece looks like he should be really expensive, but he's not. We actually had a Crow figure 2 weeks ago. I know it wasn't last week, and I don't have him in front of me anymore. This one looks very similar to it, but they're calling this one the special edition version. And the reason is because, like the figure I just showed you that's like was plastic onto a card. This is not the case. This guy is in like a full-blown terrarium. Like he could like live in there if he was a little guy. This is the special edition Eric Draven Crow figure from McFarlane Toys. And yeah, I mean the last one I showed you was a McFarlane also. That one ended up going for $25. So this one is a little bit more, at least on the average, but not a whole lot. The low on him was 15, the high was 50, so that's, you split the difference on that. That's like in the 30s. Not much higher than the other one. Beautiful looking piece, though. Just the packaging on this thing, man. This is what's really like winning me over. There are definitely a couple of figures that I would enjoy in this. That, in fact, if these figures that are on the back of this are any indicator, if I find one of those, I may in fact be taking that off the collection's hands. But yeah, it's a beautiful piece. Like I said, this will probably be like $30. The only killer for this is if you buy this and it gets shipped to you. This packaging, man, this is gonna kill you. This is gonna cost you like half the cost of the item just to get shipped for $15. It's weighty too. So, oh, what else? Can anybody say repetition? Is that our word of the day when you see something that you've already seen before? Is that necessarily a bad thing, though? If it's things that we enjoy and things we like, don't we want repetition? We want more of it, and then we want variances of it, like coming out of the water Predator. How about Nightmare Warriors Freddy? He's a NECA, obviously, because, he has got an extra head. He's got a little guy. He's got a removable hat, because, why would he want to keep his hat on all the time? Sometimes you want to just put his legs up and take off his hat, right? Beautiful looking piece. Well maintained. Somewhere between 35 and 50 is the average on him, which is telling me the average is basically 40. So don't be shocked if that's what he goes for. There's that. Can't see her, but Star-Lord is perched where some of the figures that I've been like putting off to the side are. She's kind of like watching it. She's like, what is going on? What is this? Who's he talking to? Ooh, this next piece is kind of cool. Another Star Wars thing today. It's two figures in one box, but like it's action figure sized, which usually you don't get. Or when you do, they charge you for both figures. I would guess that when this came out, this was like $25. And it's, if you can't tell because the plastic's a little bit like yellowed. You got Yoda versus Darth Sidious. And this was Star Wars Unleashed. It was a line of figures from Hasbro in the early 2000s that released some other like similar like almost like they're jumping out of the film. Like there's some other stuff too. We got Asajj Ventress like in like a like ready to slash you pose, and same with like Vader there. What is this going for? Wow, this is, you probably get this for less than what you would have bought it for when it came out. The low on this is 9 and the high is 25. I feel pretty confident in saying I'll probably put it up for 15. So there's that. Oh, this one. So I'm slowly beginning to realize, and I feel sort of bad saying this. I'm a horror movie person. I love them. I watch probably a few every week, despite the fact that I'm a overall collectible person. But I have never seen Trick or Treat, and I'm sure anybody who knows me that's watching this is, cursing me, and they're like, "What the fuck, Nabil?" But I haven't seen Trick or Treat. We had a Sam figure last week, which you guys never ended up getting to see because the item was just so hot. I do have one today that's another Sam item, but I really need to just sit down and watch this because there must be something compelling about this film that is driving up the cost of this character. The Living Dead doll that we had for him last week, I think, was $100. So we've got a Trick or Treat cult classic from NECA this week. Sealed, never been opened. Beautiful figure. The range on him is between 45 and 100. So probably in the 60 or 70 range, man. I don't know. People just love this little guy, and I would never go on the totally high end, but at the same time, when there's something of interest, you can't totally ignore the value of the item. So yeah, he's really well crafted though. I think this piece looks beautiful. But yeah. Next. I don't think that we've had any of this company yet, and this one's another one that's in the vein of like X Plus or Kodabukaya. It's a Asian company, and they make very detailed items, but they're imports. So a lot of times the prices on them are higher, just simply because they came from overseas, which I understand partly why that drives the price on some of them, but on others, I've also seen plenty of things that come from overseas figure wise that don't go for more, because lots of these things are made in other countries, but sometimes they're made in mass, so maybe that's allows the value of the items to not be very high. I don't know. But this is SH Monster Arts, which is a subsidiary of SH Figuarts, if you have ever come across those. They're the much bigger figures. But this is an Alien Big Chap action figure. He's normal size. He's like a 7-incher. Oh, man. Coming across a lot of these things. Maybe I'm just trying to be more cognizant of this stuff. This boy does have a broken seal. And that being the case, I mean, he looks intact. He looks like he's got everything with him. But we'll probably lean on the lower end for this. Just better safe than sorry. I want to ensure that the people that are getting these items are completely satisfied with them and don't feel deceived in any way. So I will say though the range on him was between 17 and 36. Probably call it an even 20 and call it a day. Beautiful piece though, and it's the back shows you like how articulated it is. It's movable and things like that. So what else we got? Ooh. So a while back, a couple of weeks back, I got my hands on some Sideshow action figures, but those never made it to the videos, I don't think, because somebody hit us up in that 24-hour window beforehand. But they were only interested in certain Sideshow figures. So as I came across more of these Universal Monster figures, I realized you guys would get to see them this time. And these are actually Series 1 figures. The ones from last time were Series 3 and 4 or 4 and 5. They were definitely at the back end of them. But Sideshow has done action figures, too. You know, action figures, statues. I mean, they're not one-trick pony. But like everything they do is like super well crafted, well detailed, just well. But I got two things by them today. One of them is a Karloff Frankenstein from Universal with all the fixins. This is a Series 1 Sideshow figure. His value was between 20 and 50. I might just go right there in the middle and 35 him. Because again, these Sideshow figures, man, you just don't find them anymore. They're great. And to go along with him, we also had a Wolfman, a little Lon Chaney Wolfman action. Lon Chaney Jr., as it were. Comes with a little stand and everything. Just Frankenstein did too. Actually, it even shows his down there. This guy went for a little less. He was between 20 and 40, so maybe right at 30 for him. Beautiful pieces though, man. I feel like they stepped out of the film when I look at some of these action figures. They're just that good looking. As we near the end. Another Frankenstein piece today. Another one from our friends at Mezco, too. It's a straight-up Frankenstein collectible figure. He looks a little cartoonized, but not in a very ridiculous way, if that makes any sense. I mean, like, the back still looks foreboding. It's just... I feel like the notion was to make them look like they were from a cartoon, but not necessarily like a very small baby cartoon. This guy had a decent range. He was between 40 and 100. I don't know. I think we'll probably end up calling this guy like 50 or 60. He's pretty cool though. He's another... I don't know exactly how big we'd call him. He doesn't look quite like a 12, maybe like a 10-inch. Maybe he's 12, maybe they just like compacted the box too, though. Hard to say. But yeah. I would expect more of these two, because with all this Universal Monster stuff, Frank wanted it all. It was never just one figure. If they had multiple things from it, he wanted it. Universal was definitely a big interest of his. Let's see. We've got... Did I miss her? Did I skip her? Oh, I did. Skipped this figure some time ago. I was kind of wondering why I hadn't done her yet. So we had a Hermione last week, and she actually went, or I don't know if it was last week, it might have been a few weeks ago, but it was like a 12-inch NECA, actually, if I remember right. It was a Hermione from the 5th book / 5th movie. And then this week I came across a Hermione from the first one. It's a Mattel, and it's from a line of figures they call the Hogwarts Heroes. Oh, look at that. Ruby stone in the robe, and there's a little ruby stone for you to put on your robe. It's pretty cool. This one came out 2001. Wow. Yeah. She's definitely got that Barbie kind of look to her, though, even though she's not a Barbie. They even went so far as to give her the freckles. Her range, though, was between 10 and 50. I'm not sure. I mean, I don't know how highly collectible this thing is. I would say no more than 25. I don't know. Again, that might just be my personal bias bleeding in a little bit, but I think on something this small, with how many Hermione things exist in the world, be criminal to ask half or more than half on that. What else? What is left? We've got a few things left. I think we actually had one of these figures in one of our first videos, and so anybody who ends up watching this and maybe seeing it, or maybe they bought it, full disclosure, there were also many times where Frank bought doubles. In the later years, when you have as much as you've seen and so much more, you tend to forget if you've already gotten it or not. I mean, whether you're old or young, if you're an avid collector, sometimes you don't remember. Personally, I've started keeping an Excel sheet, so when I go places and I see things, I don't make crazy impulse buys on stuff that I like, that I think to myself, do I have this already? But this is our lovely girl, the nun, cloth nun figure from NECA. I mean, I'm having deja vu as I show this to you. I really feel like we already had one of these on here, so I guess if you were somebody that liked this and was interested, might be the chance to score it again. I didn't look back to see what we priced it at the first time, but the most recent listings on this were, sold listings, I should say, were between $35 and $55. So I might just round the 35 up to a 40 and stop right there. Beautiful piece, though. Loved seeing her like in anything Conjuring, especially before I almost think I liked her before she was in her own movie, because it's like with the Conjuring movies, they introduce all kinds of random characters, and you never know like how big a role the character you're seeing is going to play in that particular film. So you just see the nun in one of the Conjuring movies, you're like, whoa, what is she doing here? So, but yeah. And I think the last big thing that I would show you guys, actually, well, we've got 4 items left. So we'll go with the last big one. So this is another Toy Biz item. In fact, I feel confident saying this is a Toy Biz exclusive. This looks like Avengers #1, and inside has all the Avengers that appeared in that issue. We got Ant-Man, we got Wasp, we got Thor, we got Hulk, we got Giant Man, and we got OG Iron Man. This is a really cool looking piece. Really cool. I don't know if in a non-corona pandemic time this would have gone for more, or if all these figures have been like remade in other platforms like, current Marvel Legends. It's not very expensive. It's between $40 and $53, and I think the $40 mark is right where this is going to stay. It's a beautiful piece. I think just being able to like display like all those figures out like somewhere like next to the image of the #1 as if they're like appearing out of it would be super cool. That's not a contingent for buying it. That's an idea for whoever does. So there's that. The last thing we've got some hardcovers. They're not volume ones. Not that necessarily makes them undervalued, because, in fact, all of these went for more than their retail. I think we went over this before, though. Some of these harder to come by. Some of these trades collect books that to spend the actual money on versus spending a little bit more than the retail cost on the collected edition makes more sense. You know what I mean? Like, oh shit, here's this $100 hardcover that's not going for $200, but it's collecting like 40 comics, any one of which costs more than the retail cost of the books. You multiply that times all of them. So, I'll give you a quick looky-loo on these. We had a Fantastic Four Volume 3. I think that's the Kirby cover too, because even with hardcovers, they have variants sometimes. And this guy's going to go for $150, believe it or not. Next, we've got a Thor Volume 2 cover. Well, not cover. Thor Volume 2 hardcover. This guy's range was between $70 and $125. I think we're going to let him go for his actual retail cost, which was $100. All these are still sealed, by the way, too. If you can't tell in the video, they're all cellophaned up. Even though I do wipe everything down before they get packed and shipped, a very large supply of Lysol wipes. I'm not going to run out anytime soon. You'll still be whoever you are who gets these books will be the first person to read them because they are all sealed still. And the last one, we had an Avengers Volume 1 last week. No, actually, we still have Avengers Volume 1. That hasn't sold yet. So I guess in theory, if you decide you want to hit me up and be like, hey, I want 1 and 2, you can do that. Volume 2 here of Avengers. And this one is a lot too, because it's early issues again. And bring the Avengers to amazing new heights, including the first appearances of Ultron and the Vision. That's the killer. So the range on this was between $150 and $250. Retail cost on it was $100. So even on the lowest sales that I found for this thing was still $50 more than what it cost brand new when it first came out. I think we're gonna put this one at $200. We don't, first appearance of Vision, Ultron, and honestly, not to knock the actual books because I have tons of vintage comics. When I'm rereading older stuff like that, I prefer to read them this way. One, I don't have to be concerned about damaging the items that they're from the source material, and two, it's just they're beautifully represented in these hardcovers. The crisp pages, smooth pages, just beautiful. With that, we did it. We got through, guys. As always, like, comment, subscribe, or if you don't comment and tell me why. And then subscribe to see if there's anything else you want to tell me no on. As always, I've been your friendly neighborhood comic book dude. I'll catch you guys next time.